role of accountants in managing financially distressed businesses. And we have with us our esteemed panelists. Can we have a great round of applause for CA Gyan Misra, who's a Central Council member of ICAI. I would like to now invite on stage our panelist, CA Avil Menezes, who's the Director of Aegis Resolution Services Private Limited. Our second panelist, we have with us CA Vijaykumar V Iyer, who's an insolvency professional. Can we have a great round of applause, please? We have with us CA Ashish Chhawchharia, who's also an insolvency professional. Our final panelist, we have with us CA Sajeve Deora, who's also an insolvency professional. To chair and moderate this session, we have with us CA Subodh Kumar Agrawal, who's the past president of SAFA and who is also the past president of ICAI. I would now be requesting CA Gyan Misra, sir, our Central Council member of ICAI, to kindly give the opening remarks of this session.
Good evening, friends. Thank you very much, MOC, of the session. At the outset, we welcome all the delegates in this very new edition of the international conference, that is GLOPAC. Members on the dais, our Honorable Past President, who is moderator of the session, CA Subodh Kumar Agrawal ji, and all the respected panelists, Sajeve Deora ji, Ashish ji, Vijay ji, and Avil ji. Friends, we all are aware that Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, the new reforms code which has been introduced by the Government of India about last 7 years back, has managed to prove to be one of the major reforms law so far in the independence of the country. If we see the basic characteristic with respect to the resolution within the timeline, with respect to the restructuring, or in any other way, though I am sure about it that could not be met in time, still a lot of things have been streamlined during the previous last 7 years. The law is toddler, lot of amendments are happening day in, day out, and we have witnessed that the regulatory framework, especially from the viewpoint of the IBBI, has done a wonderful job in last 7 years. The today's topic, opportunities with respect to the insolvency and restructuring, is very important topic, and we see not only opportunity as insolvency professional is there, but of course opportunity as a chartered accountant and finance professional in the arena of the insolvency and bankruptcy code is enormous. Whether it is with respect to the preparation of the resolution plan, or representation of the case before the NCLT authorities, or suggesting to the COC with respect to the various models of the resolution plan, or day-to-day operations with respect to the ongoing concerns of the resolving unit. Each and every place is there where the role of the chartered accountants and finance professionals is inevitable. In the coming time, as we are expecting that the Government of India might come very soon with IBC 2.0, we are expecting that cross-border transactions, group insolvency, and of course, very importantly, individual insolvency might be on the card. But friends, if we see a lot yet to be done, from the viewpoint of the regulators also, and from the viewpoint of the lawmakers also. So I'll not take much time. I am just sure about it that the deliberation by the various panelists under the able leadership of Moderator C.A. Subodh Kumar Agrawal ji, we shall certainly learn how the IBC is impacting the entire economy and how the chartered accountants and finance professionals can grab the opportunity of the insolvency in the modern area. Thank you very much, MOC, for giving the opportunity.
So now, without further ado, let's dwell onto this very interesting topic. I would now be requesting our moderator to kindly take over this session.
Thank you, ma'am. Chairman of the IBC Committee of CA Institute. Fortunately, friends, all of 6 we sitting here are IBC professionals, including the chairman of the IBC Committee also. Friends, first let me put my gratitude to the ICAI for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share dais with all the veterans. Veterans in the true sense that these 4 people other than the chairman, they are the face of IBC in India, either in terms of the number of the assignment, 26, one gentleman, or in the volume, maybe in 10,000 crore or 1 lakh crore of volume. All those people are sitting here. Now the topic today, friends, navigating insolvency and restructuring. We need to navigate more to find the diamond outside, inside, and the opportunities for accountant. Friends, here accountants include not only chartered accountant. Accountants include even the advocate, cost accountant, company secretary, and management consultant as well. Now India is growing. We need to complement ourselves. A few days back, there was a news that India has achieved 4 trillion economy, but there was no confirmation from the government of India. Yes, some of the ministers, some of the BJP ruling parties had confirmed on the X platform. Let us presume, yes, it is there, though we had a target of $5 trillion economy, but then a little bit of compliment need to go to IBC also. And all those professionals sitting here across 3 lakh crore of the unutilized money, unproductive money has been brought into this system. And what is the impact of that? IIM Ahmedabad had a study on that. I will just on brief share the study of IIM Ahmedabad. But then before that, since we are sitting in Ahmedabad, it will not be out of context to quote Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi also. What he said, IBC is a crucial milestone in the economic reforms. Yes, it's a crucial reforms, and in the last 7 years, it has proved. India, which used to be counted as among the fragile five economics, is now being considered, and we are looking for number 4th position in the world map, or number 3rd position maybe in 2025 or 2026, and maybe in the second in 2030. That still we need to see. Now, what is the outcome of study of IIM Ahmedabad? The IIM Ahmedabad, again, here we are sitting in IIM Ahmedabad, which is number 1, ABC, number 1 Indian Institute of Management. They had conducted a study post-CIRP, post-resolution, the outcome of the companies, that how did they did post-resolution. So, those 808 companies that got resolved, and the lenders got 3 lakh crore, 3.16 or 3 lakh crore rupees back, and that was put back into the system. So what is the outcome of that? They say that average sales have increased by 76%. So they have taken average of 3 years. So average sales of those resolved companies had increased by 76%. Break even, they got the break even in the very next year itself after the resolution was done. Average employee expenses increased by 50%. What does it demonstrate? It demonstrates that they went on increasing the employee where when the company was under NPA, there was a question of retrenchment. Government revenue is not getting. Now the employees are increasing, so employees expenses increased by 50%. Now aggregate is very important. Aggregate market valuation of resolved firms increased from 2 lakh crore to 6 lakh crore. There may be some exception also, Patanjali, where the share price got from 10 to 1,000 rupees or some other. So we can always, as a professional, we can take out those numbers, but then still it went on, it went on. Now current ratio, I will not say what is current ratio, which was only merely one current ratio, increased to 1.8, 1.9 or 2. So see the turnaround. When I went to give a lecture on the income tax department on behalf of IBBI, they used to say, this is a government money, how can the distress company not pay the government money? Then I used to tell them, see, you are looking today, you should be futuristic, you look future. If the company revives, the economy, the GDP which is 4%, because of this distress company, GDP will shoot to 7 or 8% because employment will be generated. Right now, retrenchment is going on, employment will be generated, turnover will increase, so GST will increase, income tax will increase, everything will go on increasing. So if you look at futuristic, there is no choice other than IBC, insolvency and bankruptcy, for the distress company. Friends, I will not go into detail the success. There is a IBC newsletter. I will request all of you that you should, if you are interested in IBC, you need to read those newspaper also, how things has evolved and how things are getting. Now, quick disposal. IBC has proved how the judiciary works faster. Though initially it was presumed that in 180 days, the matter will be resolved. Initially when the IBC started, I used to say, Nayak, you must have seen the picture of Nayak, Anil, जो हमारे पुराने मित्र बैठे हैं वो सब नायक पिक्चर देखे होंगे अनिल कपूर की. एक दिन का चीफ मिनिस्टर. I used to say that we are 180 days chief minister. 180 दिन में भारत बदल देंगे, हम उस कंपनी को बदल देंगे. वो महाराष्ट्र को बदलने गए थे, हम कंपनी को बदल देंगे. Now कभी-कभी हमको 5 साल भी मिल जाता है कंपनी बदलने के लिए, 4 साल भी मिल जाता है. Due to thanks to the litigations. But now, if you look at in last 7 years, the clarity the judiciary has given. Whatever issues come, you will find that there is a solution for that. And then again, new problem will come up. But today, even Supreme Court has started giving its judgment in the IBC matter in 1 month, 2 months, which used to take maybe years and maybe decades also. The first judgment came of innovative industries. Maybe that was also headed by one of the IP from Ahmedabad only, Dinal Shah. So in 2017. Today, every month at least one judgment will be of this, their Supreme Court. Now litigations, whether government dues are get priority or not. Now there was a Sundaresh Bhatt judgment in the matter of ABG CPR. Now again, the issue came government dues. There was a rainbow judgment. Very quickly there came another judgment of the Paschimanchal Vidyut Nigam, and then unfortunately, or whatever in a good way, the review judgment came. We are now accustomed to whatever judgment comes, we are then. Then Chhawchharia ji sitting here, he brought a judgment of the Jet Airways maintenance. All dispute, controversy settled. PF है तो देना पड़ेगा भाई, किधर जाओगे? Employee का पैसा लेके नहीं जा सकते हो. So today we are taking every judgment into our stride. IBC में दोस्तों एक बात बोलूंगा, केवल वो टेक्स्ट बुक पढ़ने से नहीं चलेगा. आपको सीखना है तो करना पड़ेगा. प्रैक्टिस मेक्स अ मैन परफेक्ट. इसीलिए हमने चारों जो प्रैक्टिस डीप डाइव करके आए हैं उनको यहां पर बुलाया है. और बिना समय लेते हुए मैं क्वेश्चन की बौछारें करूंगा. मैं पहले ये चारों हमारे जो मित्र हैं इनसे एक एक क्वेश्चन करूंगा. अगर आपकी इच्छा हो आप अपना क्वेश्चन जॉट करें. अगर मेरे को लगा अच्छा क्वेश्चन होगा या सारे हमारे मित्र बोलेंगे तो बीच में इनको चारों को एक बार मौका देने के बाद में आपको फिर मौका दिया जाएगा क्वेश्चन रेज करने का, जिससे कि लास्ट मोमेंट में ये नहीं बोल दे कि समय नहीं है, नहीं तो आपको समय मिलता. अगर आपने क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा या आपका क्वेश्चन को फटाफट जवाब दे पाए, फिर इनको एक बार फिर बाउंस करेंगे, इन पे छोड़ेंगे नहीं जब तक हमारा समय पूरा नहीं होगा. इसके साथ में ही मैं इन्वाइट करूंगा जो सबसे ज्यादा केस करके आए हैं यहां पर, अविल जी को. पहला क्वेश्चन, उसके बाद मैं बैठ जाऊंगा वहां पर. मेरी फोटो अच्छी आ गई होगी ना. नाउ द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन ऑन द स्क्रीन प्लीज. द इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंक्रप्सी कोड, which is a landmark legislation, economic legislation brought by the government of India. The code in its journey over these years have been instrumental in maximizing value of assets and balancing the interests of all the stakeholders. All the stakeholders, again I am putting emphasis. Avil ji, please share your thoughts in few words about the important journey of the code. I will request all the panelists to answer in few words. I mean, as short as possible. That's all. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Subodh for that interesting question. And a big thanks to all the members in the audience and also to my co-panelists. As far as the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code is concerned, as Subodh also mentioned in his opening address, even the Prime Minister in his recent interaction at the BRICS did say that GST, the Goods and Services Tax, and the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code have been two of the major economic legislations which have contributed a lot in the last decade. So a lot of thrust has been brought as a result of insolvency and bankruptcy in resolving the stress of the corporates. It's not that there were no avenues or mechanisms to deal with stress. Prior to the introduction of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, there were various measures, there were various provisions in the Companies Act. Lenders also had recourse to SAFA as well as DRT actions. Borrowers had also protection under the SIC industrial SICA and the BIFR mechanism. There were various circulars or I would say involuntary mechanisms which were instituted by the regulator Reserve Bank of India in terms of the corporate debt restructuring scheme. Thereafter came the SDR, the S4A, and so many schemes. Ultimately, why has IBC become such a landmark legislation? That's very important to know. As far as the preamble is concerned, it's a time-bound resolution process. Time-bound resolution process, as Subodh said, 180 days. So that is something which has instilled fear in the minds of the borrowers that sooner or later they will lose control of the company. And this is what has led to a lot of pre-insolvency admission resolutions. While the official statistics does say that 808 corporate debtors which were resolved, 3.16 lakh crores has been recovered or recovered by the stakeholders. But what it also does not bring is the amount of settlements which have happened when the companies were taken to insolvency courts. Almost 26,000 applications have been withdrawn prior to admission, and that is around a staggering amount of 9.92 lakh crores. So that's the impact as far as insolvency and bankruptcy is concerned. As we move towards the $4 trillion economy mark, what we also have to see is the behavioral changes that it has brought in amongst the debtors, amongst the creditors. Now this regime, as opposed to a debtor in possession, is actually a creditor in control regime. Creditors have also seen improved recovery rates. The current recovery rate is 32% as opposed to 23% with an average 4.3 years when the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code was instituted and enacted. Now, this is something which is only as far as recovery from the corporate debtor is concerned. It does not take into account the value of the equity which has been offered, the value which can be clawed back from the avoidance application, the value of the personal guarantees, third-party assets. So a lot of action is still to happen in terms of the legislation which is IBC. Look at the creditors. Creditors are now looking at a time-bound resolution with improved recovery rates. They're looking at action which is happening as far as the corporate debtor is concerned in terms of avoidance application, which was earlier in terms of the earlier mechanism was totally non-existent. A stellar role has been played by IBBI, the regulator, in formalizing, operationalizing through the insolvency professional agencies, and ICAI through the IP has done a stellar role in advocating this particular new insolvency regime and making it popular through various programs. As far as the NCLT is concerned, they have also played a very important role in navigating the entire resolution process. Now, what was not codified in the code has also been done through legislative changes, a lot of legislative action in terms of group insolvency, in terms of project-wise real estate, and lastly, I would say upholding the commercial wisdom as supreme, the commercial wisdom of the Committee of Creditors. So this I would say in short has helped the insolvency and bankruptcy code to stabilize. So I think with this opening remarks, I would give it back to Subodh.
Thank you, Avil. Avil has handled among these 6 people sitting here 26 number of cases. So he is carrying a lot of experience, and the gist of his statement was that that fiscal discipline that has been brought into the daters, and that demonstrate 8,800 cases has been withdrawn, settled before it entered into NCLT without disturbing the NCLT, another pillar of the IBC code. Now, next question, definitely we should go, who has handled in the quantum terms, the big number of terms, that cannot be other than Vijay, victory. So for Vijay Iyer, the next question. May I request the next question for the Vijay? Victory. So one of the key pillar, yeah, Vijay, they are very smart than me. I mean, they have already put in. One of the key pillar of IBC is where 2/3 of IBC professionals, IP professionals are chartered accountants. Fortunately, because probably they are more skill set, and that we are going to talk to Vijay also. While performing the duties and managing the affairs of the corporate debtor, the insolvency professionals are required to be equipped with many skill set. Share your views, please. Because the first case where 100% recovery was there, it was Vijay only. So how to steer this process for the benefit of all the our stakeholders sitting here? Over to Vijay.
Mr. Agrawal, fellow panelists, senior members, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir.
Name is there. Yeah. So you use this. My voice will make it loud.
Is this clearer? Yeah. All right. So once again, Mr. Agrawal, my fellow panelists, senior members of the profession, ladies and gentlemen. So in fact, one of the reasons why all 6 of us may say that we are partly successful as insolvency professionals is fundamentally because we are chartered accountants. And I'll break this question into 2 elements. First is, what is the role of an insolvency professional as far as a chartered accountant is concerned, so that you understand what is it that we do as an insolvency professional. You take charge of a company, and there are multiple roles that a RP or a resolution professional has to perform. And what we have learned in the journey over the last few years, that it's not a one person's job, but actually an entire team that requires to be put and has to have that concerted effort. The role of a resolution professional includes managing the operations of a company, verifying claims on the corporate debtor, verifying multiple disputes which happen with vendors, customers, in the production department and the HR department on a regular day-to-day basis, running the operations of a company, addressing disputes in court, managing the compliance of the corporate debtor. And in midst of all this, he is also to find a resolution for the corporate debtor. And the success of resolution professionals are those who have been able to manage the entire process with a degree of integrity and transparency, and also achieve a successful resolution. That is the role. And why do I believe that chartered accountants have been successful? And I do believe that it's because of 5 fundamental traits or skills that we bring to the table, which the other professionals may not have the benefit of. The first is, the language of any organization is finance. And the masters of finance and accounts are chartered accountants. And that is why when you take charge of a company, we can do that with a degree of certainty and authority. We understand finance and accounts extremely well. Second, it's not just the finance and accounts that we understand well, but we also the outcomes of that, outcomes of operations of the company, the financial levers, the operating levers, the impact on working capital, all this. It's not just the analysis of data, not just the presentation of data, but the business impact of all this is again appreciated best by chartered accountants. So when you take charge of a company as a resolution professional, or part of the support team supporting the resolution professional, you bring that expertise. Third, apart from having a sound knowledge of finance, apart from having a sound knowledge of all other elements of finance and the outcome of finance, is that we have proficiency across all business functions. If you look at it, a chartered accountant, even as an auditor or as a tax professional, we will engage with all other business functions of a company, be it the sales department, the production department, the inventory department, all other elements, even the HR department, if you want to understand employee benefits and employee costs, we have an appreciation. And that again brings us the forte and a skill set compared to the other professionals. And last couple of points were our understanding of law, understanding not just of our own auditing standards, accounting standards, and the tax law, but even corporate law and all other elements of law that even a business has to apply with. Our broader understanding it is far, far more profound, shall I say, than any other professional. And lastly, that one trait we as chartered accountants have, which is perhaps not voiced as much as it should, is that we are excellent project managers. We don't realize that as an audit is a huge project by itself. Even carrying out the tax work of a client, the tax due diligence, the tax return, the tax audit, and the tax filings is a huge project by itself, requiring the person in charge to actually manage a set of professionals, set of different stakeholders in a different environment, sometimes hostile, and achieve a successful outcome. Again, chartered accountants have that success. And I must say it's because of that experience as chartered accountants, I'll be first to admit that then as a resolution professional, when you have a similar job of taking charge of a company and running the entire resolution plan process, you tend to be successful. So that sir, would be my answer.
Thank you, Vijay. Only 5 traits, and those are already imbibed in you. So next day, tomorrow itself, go today and you start your, try to, your luck on the IP professional if already you don't have any vertical on the IP. I mean, if you are doing audit, don't do IP. If you are doing any other things, if you have partners, you can start a new vertical, then only take up IP. It cannot be a physical, I mean, general practice. It has to be a specialized practice. And friends, there are two more questions to our panelists, and then the house will be open for you. So keep your pen and pad ready. Start writing your questions. I'll give only 1 minute to think you and raise the questions to the panelists. And then otherwise I will again start firing the panelists. The next question is to the person who is trying to see that the airfare which is going up is brought down. He's trying. He's still not very successful. Partly he is successful, not fully successful. But no, I am not going to ask question on the corporate matters, on the personal insolvency matters. Lakhs and lakhs, crores of rupees are stuck there. And people are roaming. Those who did wrong, they are roaming around. They cannot be allowed to roam. So my next question to none other than my Calcutta, Ashish Chhawchharia ji. Yeah, on a personal guarantee. So the data is there. I'm not going to read. The data is on the screen also, Ashish ji. What is your intake on the personal insolvency for the corporate guarantor? Today, if you are talking about personal insolvency, it is only for the personal guarantors, none else. And whether the recent judgment of the November only in Dilip Jeorajka versus Union of India of 9th November of Honorable Apex Court will help in expediting the matter. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you, Mr. Agrawal, Mr. Gyan, Misra, and thank you for this opportunity, my fellow panelists and the guests here. And thank you for the kind introduction, Agrawalji. So I must make a quick distinction here. What we are talking here is about only the guarantors for the corporate insolvent entities, where there are personal guarantors whose provisions were sort of enacted or notified a couple of years back. So far, the other chapter of personal insolvencies has still not been enacted. We all know in IBC there is a full chapter dedicated to personal insolvencies, which is yet to be notified, because I think first the idea was to try out, how the experience is in corporate insolvencies. And then 3 years after that, the personal guarantors for corporate debtors was notified. However, immediately it was faced with massive amount of challenges in court and litigations from the largest of names that you would know, and if you have been following this a little bit, there were multiple applications filed at various forums, which was ultimately consolidated at the Supreme Court, and this was led by none other than Mr. Anil Ambani himself, who was one of the applicants opposing this. And there were various grounds where this was opposed. I'll not get into too much technical details here, but essentially, the opposition was on account of the constitutional validity of these provisions, whether principles of natural justice was being followed or not, and so on and so forth. I think it took 2 years. That's how, while we are encouraged by some of the pace we are seeing in the recent times, but still I think, we could do a lot better. It took 2 years finally for the Honorable Supreme Court to conclude on this matter, and recently, less than a couple of weeks back, we have a judgment wherein they have actually upheld the constitutional, validity, and they have said very clearly that there is no injustice, there is no provision for adjudicating at a much ahead in the process. There is a process of adjudication defined in those sections, and hence there's nothing wrong in when the lenders have now filed for insolvency of personal guarantors in these cases. Now, as you can see from the statistics, there is almost 2,500, 2,300 cases which have already been filed, and the amounts in question are 1.65 lakh crores. There's a huge potential. RPs have been appointed in many of these, and I think what the banks were essentially doing was just file it, and because that was almost like a tick the box, not really expecting any outcome until these cases are settled. We do expect now there should be some rapid movement in this. There will be, a lot of activity, given that there's no other forum to challenge this any further. And in my personal view, while I know a lot of people are very excited about the, huge amount of professional opportunities this may generate, I think this is going to lead to a lot more settlements outside the court process, outside the insolvency process, as compared to running the whole process as defined for the personal guarantors. Because, please appreciate that, we have now dealt with the large corporate cases, corporate insolvencies. There's gone through its own wave of, stigmas, challenges, people, even going behind bars for this. But when it comes to personal guarantees, this is now getting, coming inside your house. What was happening earlier was in your workplace, was in the office. But when you're talking of personal insolvencies, it is now coming to your doorstep in your home. And this is still a huge stigma. Let's not forget that, we are still, as a society, this is, India is still very conservative, bankruptcy or insolvency is a taboo, is a bad name. I think many of you might know that Mr. Donald Trump, he's actually declared himself insolvent thrice in his career, and even after that he could become the president of the United States. That's how mature some of the Western economies are, but India is not there today. And I think, any of these promoters who have another chance to go, because honestly, insolvency is not a stigma. It is not something where, it is a restart. That's what a preamble of the IBC also says. It's not about, trying to, blame someone. It's restart the process. So, but for corporates, this has been understood. For individuals, I think it'll take some time. So people will try to avoid this. They will do, whatever settlements, they will scamper, borrow, beg, borrow, not steal, but beg, borrow, and repay, whatever they can to get themselves out of this mess. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna, and that's my personal view. Let's see how time will tell how this plays out, but I don't think it'll go through the whole process as CIR, please. Thank you.
So the message that I'm getting from Ashish ji, that in a professional way, if I look at, lot number of personal insolvencies are going to be filed, already filed, and which was held up in the NCLT. Now many more cases will be filed. So professional opportunities again for the chartered accountants. But then again, with a inverted comma, that if you have a different vertical, I mean, don't take up it as another concurrent audit or internal audit, number one. Number two, the next question I'm going to ask, there also for audit, you need to be insolvency professional, which I am going to ask to the Sajeve ji, because he said that I can answer any questions. So I said that for a professional opportunity, only Sajeve ji is there. But in a lighter vein, Ashish ji, if I take point from the Ashish ji, उन्होंने कहा कि डोनाल्ड ट्रंप 3 बार इंसॉल्वेंट हुए, तो हम तो 4 बार भी होने को तैयार, अगर प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया का भी बन जाते हैं तो 4 बार भी इंसॉल्वेंट होने को तैयार। आतिश जी, कोई अर्ज नहीं है, बिकॉज पर्सनल इंसॉल्वेंसी हो जाती है तो कहते हैं कि आपकी ड्राई क्लीनिंग हो गई है, अब कोई आके आपको दाग खत्म हो गया है, ये भी एक लोग कहते हैं। और लोग प्लानिंग के रूप में भी लेते हैं कि पर्सनल इंसॉल्वेंसी करा लो, फिर वो हमारे साथ अगर सुनील जी आएंगे भी कि सुबोध जी आपने 100 रुपया लिया था, हमने काय का लिया था 100 रुपया, हमारा देखो सर्टिफिकेट है, बैंक्रप्सी का सर्टिफिकेट है, कोई पैसा आपने नहीं लिया। सो यू कैन प्लान आल्सो कि एक बार ड्राई क्लीनिंग कराने का इन अ लाइटर वेन। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन ऑन द ऑडिट, opportunity only to insolvency professional, even if you are a chartered accountant, not। आप इंस्टीट्यूट को जा सकते हो, सेंट्रल काउंसिल मेंबर यहाँ बैठे हैं, वहां बैठे हैं कि यार ये तो ऑडिट हमारा डोमेन है, ये खाली आपने इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल को कैसे दे दिया? बन जाओ ना यार, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट को 15 दिन की मेहनत में इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल बन सकते हैं। चौथा क्वेश्चन, ओवर टू साजिब जी। The crux of the fourth question is, how do you think accountants, that is the insolvency professional, he may be cost accountant, he may be company secretary, he may be am I not loud? He may be advocate also, can play an important role in the audit of corporate data. That is only CRP cost, CIRP cost. We are talking about the CRP cost under IBC. Since the audit function is there for, I mean, chartered accountant.
Thank you, Subodh, and good afternoon to everyone. Of course, I did say in a vein that
आप अपने क्वेश्चन से तैयार है ना? इनके बाद में आपका क्वेश्चन लेंगे हम।
my suggestion to answer any question was in the light of the fact that questions were doing rounds between us and people were making choices. So I said, leave me in the end. Nevertheless, now this is a situation where, audit of a corporate debtor has to be carried out during the CIRP process. Who can ask for it? Any member of the COC, provided that 33% and the regulation 18 is complied with, and then there is voting on that subject. If it is agreed, then the matter is taken forward. Well, I have a slight difference of opinion that is it going to be audit of only the CIRP cost or beyond that? I would imagine that the objective, though it has started from the CIRP cost because people have to contribute, but then if you look at regulation 30B, it says audit of the corporate data along with objective, scope, estimate of cost, time frame, and name of the proposed auditor. It starts from there. What is the context? In my view, the context is that over a period of time now that the gold rush of insolvencies is over, the insolvencies which will probably come now will be very relevant to the process. There will not be zombie companies being put into insolvency anymore. There will be active companies, operating companies, there will be companies which have value in them and they need to be discovered and monetized. So such being the objective, the audit process can really actually go beyond just doing the CRP audit. Because if the objective is to find out, did we discover all assets? Did we ascertain all litigations correctly? Did we monetize or did we place a value at them correctly? There's several aspects like Vijay mentioned that what all an IP is supposed to do. So the pan is like 0 to 180 degrees. You'll have to discover what you need to be audited. Now, coming from a bit of an international perspective where I know that IPs get sued regularly. I have a friend and he once spoke to me. He says, if I sue this guy, what do you think his insurance would be worth? So I said, well, yeah, you may not recover anything from him, but surely his insurance company. Your insurances are going to go up, or maybe you'll not get the insurance, and maybe you'll not get the right kind of work if you do get sued. So I'm not naming, but a person got sued in London for £1 billion for making a decision, which was probably to put the company into liquidation where administration could have still worked better. And he had sleepless night for about 2 years. So there's more responsibility on the COC members, on the stakeholders. Justice Nariman in the SR judgment stated that COC is not an agent of other stakeholders. So they're not taking a decision for me. They're not authorized to take a decision for me. But yes, they're collectively taking a decision which is just and equitable. They have to establish that the whole distribution process and the process followed is just and equitable. And just and equitable is a very, very wide expression. It'll have to be decided in the light of the facts that then prevailed, and was the decision taken by a reasonable man in a reasonable situation who will like to save themselves, the dissenting financial creditors. So if you have dissenting financial creditors and the plan is not approved, it says 33%. So if 33% come together and there is a proposal and it is approved, then people may like to save themselves, and this report may become very, very important for process going forward. It can only be done during CIRP. Now, who's the best person who can do it is an IP. He should have handled some assignments, he should have good knowledge of law, as Vijay mentioned, fair amount of attributes, and of course, should try to bring down the airfares.
Thank you, Saji. So again, even if you are, you don't want to be an insolvency professional, now there will be questions later on that what are the other opportunities? You don't have to dive into resolution professional or interim resolution professional or liquidator, but there is a huge advisory role. So now any question from audience? Quick. First chance to those sitting in the front. Backbencher को बाद में चांस मिलती है
सर,
और हम इसीलिए बैक बेंच में बैठते थे पहले कि कोई क्वेश्चन ही ना पूछना पड़े.
Sir, Mukesh Ladda here. I'm a chartered accountant and insolvency professional as well as tax professional. And the first question, sir, the recent judgment on the Supreme Court by Honorable Supreme Court in the matter of where it was concluded by the Honorable Court that the state tax authority is a secured creditor. So I would like to have some light on that, please.
लड्डा जी, चूंकि यहाँ पर कोई भी लॉयर नहीं है, लेकिन आपका क्वेश्चन जो है रेनबो का जजमेंट और जजमेंट को रिवर्स करने का, संजय अग्रवाल का जजमेंट, उसके पहले पश्चिम वित्रांतल मैंने रेफर किया था, तो इसमें प्रोबेबली मान लीजिए जो सरकार ने बोले, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोल दिया, मैं पैनलिस्ट को जवाब देने के लिए नहीं बोलूंगा, सुप्रीम कोर्ट माई बाप है, वो लॉ है, मान लीजिए उसको, उसका खाली आपको ये देखना कि गवर्नमेंट अथॉरिटी क्या होती है, उसका डेफिनेशन को आप पढ़ लीजिए, उससे चलेगा. वो पश्चिम वितरण में उसमें दिया हुआ गवर्नमेंट का डेफिनेशन, गवर्नमेंट अथॉरिटी क्या होती है. सर आपको दोबारा क्वेश्चन नहीं है, यहाँ पर दो हमारे
Agrawal ji, I'll just add one thing to this, on this question, that one thing is very clear in that Supreme Court order also, that the case Rainbow Papers is very specific to the facts of that case. It should not be applied in general. So let's not take that all government dues, all state government dues are suddenly secured dues at that level. That's point number one. And secondly, look at the MCA's discussion paper, which has been issued sometime in January, February 23, which specifically talks about addressing that issue. Hopefully, it will be enacted in the upcoming session, and we'll probably rest this case forever.
Yeah, next question, please.
Hello, gentlemen. Thanks for a very informative session. My question is...
आधे दूरी गए और आधा सेशन और अच्छा करेंगे.
My question is, what is the mindset, like when I read, I am working in Oman as a banker. So this is a new thing for me to hear about all this, what is going on in India right now. Now, when I read the papers and when I see the media, what I see is that when a business fails, and as viewers, I heard that we say we have to borrow or repay or steal. So, you know, if a business fails, the automatic driving force is that maybe there is a fraud and some money has been stolen and let's catch the person and, you know, go after him and so on. So is there a mindset that we are not allowing businesses to fail? Because if we have to grow as an economy, I feel that there will be a lot more businesses will genuinely fail. So what is the mindset as such overall in this whole process of liquidation and insolvency? And actually I wanted to hear a bit more on restructuring also, because restructuring would drive the, you know, the comeback of the businesses. So what is the mindset right now operating in the industry as such, in the law forums, in the practitioner forums, and how we can make it more positive?
Can I ask Vijay, you will answer? Very short, because one more question we'll take before we launch on the second section.
Sir, if I may try and venture with, the mindset of the ecosystem is to avoid IBC. IBC has now become a sort of a last resort. If that be the mindset, it's only for the positive. There are fundamentally three things which have changed. The first, as you saw, as Avil said, that there's a change of behavior of borrowers. They are now no longer thinking they have a fear that their business may now be taken away from them, which earlier Indian promoters never had that fear. And therefore, they're now keen to settle. Now, you heard a number of north of 9 lakh crores, which has been settled before even getting into it. That's the threat of IBC. And because of this behavior and this fear, you now have within the ecosystem people keen to understand what the warning signs are much earlier and apply those warning signs. So businesses are keen to understand what warning signs do I need to look out for. Stagnating turnover, not just non-increase in turnover itself is a warning. Declining profits, change in management, entrance of competition, which you had not perhaps thought of earlier. And now they are engaging with professionals such as us, asking us, help me understand some of these warning signs much earlier, because it's my business and I'm fearing to use it. And because of these warning signs, then come to the third point, which you said, businesses are now keen to apply remedial measures much before. So actual restructuring, rather than a restructuring which will never work. Previously, the one-time settlements would never work actually, it would just be kicking the can down the road. Now they're seriously looking at genuine restructuring, rapid diagnostics earlier on. These are elements which is only good. And the advent, and shall I say, overseas private equity funds in this distress space, now coming into India and looking at this space, means that they're looking at restructuring genuinely. All good signs, but there is a long road ahead. Thank you.
I'll just add, you don't have to get scared. If you are honest, you don't have to get scared. जो घोड़े पे चढ़ेगा वही गिरेगा. आपने इंडस्ट्री लगाई, रिस्क लिया, मैं सैल्यूट करता हूं आपको. अगर आप गिरते हैं तो आप फिर उठ के खड़े होंगे. गवर्नमेंट ने चांस दिया है, क्लीन बन के फिर से आपको बैंक लोन मिलेगी. जब तक आप क्लीन नहीं होंगे बैंक लोन नहीं मिलेगा. So this is the opportunity to get yourself clean. Provided in PUFA transaction, avoidance transactions, you are not caught hold. Next question. Very quickly, we will have one more questions quickly. Yeah. उठ जाए, आपकी आवाज जो
सर, माइक इज इन माय हैंड.
अच्छा चलिए, आपके हाथ में तो आप ही चलिए.
ओम प्रकाश कानूनगो, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट बॉम्बे एंड IBC कंसल्टेंट. या
सर, आप तो हमको सजेस्ट करेंगे, आप तो क्वेश्चन कैसे करेंगे? हम तो आपका आंसर सुनने के लिए बैठे हैं.
माय क्वेश्चन इज ओनली दिस, दैट व्हेन देयर इज अ टाइम लिमिट फॉर एवरीथिंग इंक्लूडिंग लिक्विडेशन, द टाइम लिमिट विद इन अ ईयर इट हैज टू बी कंप्लीटेड. But when everybody is expected to follow the time limit, but then it gets held up in the bench. The bench, there is no time limit, and the case goes on for a long time. And I have cases where more than 3 years have passed, and still the matter is pending because of only the hearing by the bench. And for that, I have to apply every time for extension. The progress report is to be submitted. And there is a good money charged by the advocates for nothing. For 3 years, there are only two jobs. Here, no hearing is taking place ultimately. Then only apply for extension, maximum 6 months. When I say that, please give me 3 months more than what the decision you gave. Whenever you give the decision, 3 months from that. But no sir, they give only for 6 months.
अनुगो साहब, आप भी इसका आंसर बता दो ना, क्या करने का है?
अभी आप बताइए सर, मैं तो आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ.
नहीं, हम तो आपसे पूछ रहे हैं, आप बता दो क्या करने का है?
अब आप बताइए सर, आप बताइए, आप लोग इतने नॉलेजेबल हैं कि किस तरह से इसको और कम किया जाए.
So I think, sir, just to answer your question, probably it would be a one-off experience and an experience which would be shared by many more practitioners also. In fact, we've also seen, of course, with the new benches coming in, a lot of infrastructure being added. I've also seen a lot of cases which were stuck for almost 1.5, 2 years. They've suddenly started passing orders. So as a resolution professional, I mean, you'll need to be patient. And I believe when dealing with courts, patience is a virtue. So it's a bitter pill, accept it with a smile.
What we are doing already.
So, only one thing I'll add to that, what Avil said, that there's, yes, it's a game of patience and an additional attribute for an RP, but we are seeing an improvement in this. Certainly there are improvements. Of course, there are many cases like what you have said, but if you see IBBI news, the alerts that are coming every day, and you see last 4 months, the pace of approval of plans has not been seen in the last 6 years. So that's an encouragement. I recently was in a meeting at the ministry, And I can tell you, the administration now is very carefully looking at, breaking down the parts where delays are happening in the process, and they're trying to address each of those segments. And there's a concerted effort to reduce this time frame so that we can go back to, what was the original objectives. So let's keep the hope.
मैं खाली इसमें ऐड करूंगा कि even PUFA transaction avoidance जहाँ कोई एक्शन नहीं हो रहा था, now since there is ट्रिपल IP में कुछ काम हो रहा है कि चेयरमैन IBBI कैसे उसमें इन्वॉल्व हैं, कैसे they are trying to help the NCLT also कि किस तरह का फॉर्मेट एक चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट आरपी बना के दे जिससे कि डिसीजन लेने में सुविधा हो, इस तरह की वर्किंग चल रही है. नाउ नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन प्लीज.
Good evening everyone. I am CA Rahul Jindal. I am also an insolvency professional. So I am currently handling 2 assignments. They are mid-size assignment. तो मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगा, जैसे सर आप जेट एयरवेज का आप कर रहे हैं, आपने भूषण का हैंडल करा, तो what is the difference between the mid-size assignment and the assignments which are so huge, and what should be taken care while handling such big assignments, जो इतनी बड़ी assignments हैं, जो न्यूज़पेपर में भी पब्लिश होते हैं, तो उसमें क्या ध्यान रखने की जरूरत है सर? थैंक यू.
I think, so I'll make a first stab and then after you, Vijay. I think essentially the scale between the two means आज कोई Jet Airways हो या भूषण जैसा assignment हो, no IP can do this job on his own. We are just the face of the entire team which is working, because itni badi assignment, itne stakeholders, like if you take Jet Airways example, we had 27 financial creditors, 4,000 operational creditors, 16,000 employee claims, and 15 lakh ticket holders claims to deal with. Now, is it the IP? No, I'm the face of that. It's my team which did the work. So I think in terms of scale, complexities that come with that scale, that's the difference that you need to manage. Otherwise, I think the compliances that you need to do in a smaller case and a big case is the same. We need to do all the same compliances of IBPI, and sometimes I really wonder कि जो छोटे cases में कैसे manage करते हैं. So that's certainly, I would say a lot of credit actually goes to people who are handling the smaller and medium cases, because there I know the challenges are also on the fees being small, the teams not being large, but you still have to comply with all the requirements of a company. So, yep, I mean, hats off.
Your question, please.
Sir, myself, Kedar
पब्लिक
Ladda.
इतने अच्छे क्वेश्चन आ रहे हैं ना कि हम और बाकी अपने क्वेश्चन नहीं दे पा रहे हैं उनको.
Sir, Kedar Ladda myself. This my question from point of view resolution applicant. The plan is submitted. Thereafter, COC members reconstitution due to stake sale by the banker. Means the COC, after receiving the resolution plan, they selling their stake to some other ARC or this. So this way happen कि resolution process applicant is disappointing because कि some of the plan again they calling the second time resolution plan is again they calling. So this type of one side when it is time frame is there everywhere, they again and again resolution plan is calling or this is happening. So is there any mechanism with the COC?
इसका आंसर मैं दे के निकलूंगा. तब तक और कोई क्वेश्चन हो तो आप रेडी रखें.
एक और मेरा प्रीपेक इंसॉल्वेंसी
आपका एक क्वेश्चन लेंगे, दोबारा नहीं लेंगे. हम ऑडियंस को बताना चाहेंगे कि कमर्शियल विजडम ये इंपॉर्टेंट है. कितनी बार कॉल कर सकते हैं इसके लिए देयर आर न्यूमरस जजमेंट ऑफ द एनसीएलटी एंड क्लैट एटसेट्रा. आप उसको देखें. टाइम जो है उसके लिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट का इसार स्टील में जजमेंट है 330 दिन तक आपने दे सकते हैं. उसके बियॉन्ड उसको आपको अर्जेंसी दिखानी पड़ेगी. तो आपको लॉ का भी अच्छा ज्ञान रखे और ये उनके पावर में है. आप ये मान के चले पावर में है. एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? अदर मैं क्विकली फायर राउंड होगा.
हेलो सर, दिस इज हातिम फ्रॉम दोहा.
या
Personal insolvency में the personal assets, if they are diverted to the family members, to what level the personal insolvency can be covered?
See, again, there is a PUFA, avoidance transactions. I mean, in avoidance transactions, if they can catch hold of. Yeah, over to Ashish.
So there are a lot of rules framed around this. Obviously, certain amount of personal assets, even in an insolvent individual or a bankrupt individual, like a home, one residential home, these are allowed to be retained. Otherwise, if there are any diversions which are undervalued or preferential done, they can be clawed back. So there are provisions for that. So just like in a corporate case, you can do it in personal cases as well. But like I said, all this will go through a set of challenges and go through the court process eventually.
The next round is fire round. So that means my question is very longer, but their answer should be only on 1 or 2 lines. The fifth question is for Avil. Can I have the question on the screen, please? Next question. Yeah. So 808 resolution plan, 3.16 lakh crore realized. So what is the significant role played by the accountant in 2 lines?
So I think, sir, in the words of Dr. M.S. Sahu, the CIRP resolution process is like an orchestra. There are various players, but I think the most important role, you see a lot of chartered accountants sitting over here. In the successful resolution plans, a lot of important role has been played by chartered accountants in the way the plans have been structured. There has been a lot of certainty in terms of implementation of timelines, in terms of certainty of value, which is being seen to financial creditors. So I think the entire negotiation process, to a large extent, even from the investor perspective, which is the resolution applicant, or from the RP perspective, or even from the COC perspective, process advisors are generally accountancy firms. So a stellar role has been played, and I would salute the accountants for navigating very beautifully as far as the entire CRP resolution process is concerned.
Thank you, Abil. हम इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस में बैठे हैं, हम देश की बातें कर रहे हैं, हमारे ऑडियंस देसी है बट विदेश से आए हैं, दोहा से आए हैं और कहीं से आए हैं, तो एक इंटरनेशनल क्वेश्चन बनता है ना। आशीष जी के लिए नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन। आशीष जी, व्हाट आर द सिमिलैरिटीज एंड डिफरेंस बिटवीन Indian IBC and key international regime in short? Next question, please. It's not on screen.
So I'll try to be very short on this, quick on this. So Indian insolvency regime is very young. It's taking baby steps. It's only seven years old. But there are some mature, regimes. If we look towards the West, be it the US, be it the UK, some of the countries in Europe. By the way, in Europe, it is not one common insolvency regime, even though it's EU, but their different countries have got their own insolvency regulations. But if you just look at UK, US, and compare that to India, because these are the most sort of mature economies, if I may call it, there's some significant differences. I think if you understand that in terms of regime control, there's a creditor in control or a debtor in possession. So while UK is a creditor in control, very much like India, where the COC or the creditors, RP takes control, the management of the company or the board of directors is suspended. It's very common, similar to that in the UK, whereas US, it's opposite. The Chapter 11 operates in a different manner, the management continues. So even though both these processes have worked in both these regimes, both have their pros and cons, but India has decided to follow the similarity to the UK regime. The waterfall mechanism is different. So in India, one key difference you'll see our insolvency code, and this probably answers a little bit of the question from my friend from Goa, I think, or restructuring your name from Oman. In our insolvency code, there's already an inbuilt provision of first trying to revive the company, restructure the company by way of, finding a resolution applicant, and then failing which it goes into a liquidation step. Now, this is not necessarily how it works in the other regimes. We have a two-step process in India. Mandatorily, you cannot go directly unless it's a solvent liquidation, or you can't go directly into a liquidation phase through the IBC. So that our process is different. Our waterfall, the way we define financial creditors, what are financial creditors, operating creditors, government dues, our waterfall is quite different from the UK or US regime, where the concept is more to do with secured, unsecured, and preferential or preferred creditors. But we have chosen to define it in a different manner. So there are various We have taken parts of it. I mean, I would say if you want to really compare, probably UK would be the most comparable regime. And UK in its current form has been operating for more than 30 years. But yes, some of the aspects that need to come in are cross-border group insolvencies. I think these are things that will further enhance the code.
क्योंकि आशीष जी ने कहा कि क्रॉस बॉर्डर ग्रुप इंसॉल्वेंसी को टच करना चाहिए, इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस की बात करते हैं तो मेरे को लगता है कि अपने को क्रॉस बॉर्डर की बात करनी ही चाहिए. कैन वी हैव अ क्वेश्चन ऑन क्रॉस बॉर्डर प्लीज? नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन फॉर विजय. क्रॉस बॉर्डर की बात तो हमको आशीष जी से करनी चाहिए थी जेट में, लेकिन अब उनका समय खत्म हो गया है, इसीलिए हम विजय जी के पास जाएंगे. Looking at the further development that are expected in IBC with regard to cross-border insolvency, full-fledged insolvency framework and group insolvency, not only cross-border but group insolvency also, how do you foresee the expansion of the role of the accountants? And cross-border, in fact, the discussion paper was there again, but that did not convert it into regulation or the rule. So can we have a quick view on that?
Since you want a quick view, sir, on the first question, to foresee the expansion of the role of the accountants, it's very critical that you need to develop that network of fellow professionals across other jurisdictions. Only then could you be a successful resolution professional in a cross-border engagement. If you have an engagement which includes UK and India, you obviously will need to interact with professionals in UK who can support you on the assignment. Else it's not going to be a success. That's the critical element. On the skill sets that are required, the obvious, right? When you start something new, this is going to be new, group insolvency, personal insolvency, cross-border. When we start something new, the fundamental traits always are that you must be willing to learn, you must be courageous, you must be willing to take bold decisions. But there's one fundamental trait very much required for success of resolution professionals. An executive coach shared this insight with me. He said that an RP, everybody is a friend of RP, but RP is public enemy number one. And in such a situation, how does the RP operate? The answer is like Google Maps. When you make a wrong turn, what does the lady in Google Maps do? She does not berate you. She does not shout at you. She does not say you're a donkey for not making that turn. Learn to listen to me. She very quietly says, reroutes it, and in the same tone of voice, tells you to take the next left or next right. So as a resolution professional, you must learn that behavior. The COC make wrong decisions. The NCLT may make a wrong judgment. You may have various other judgments and various other stakeholders berating you, shouting at you, and you may want to shout back, but you cannot. You learn to behave like Google Maps. Be calm, find a solution, move ahead. That is the role of a resolution professional.
Boss, मैंने देखा विजय ने लेडी गूगल को क्यों बोला? जेंट्स गूगल भी तो बोल सकते थे. There is gents voice also. Anyway, he has a liking for lady voice. I prefer gents voice. Next question, please. Last question for panelists. Thereafter, we will give 1 to more minutes time. Since we are at the fag end, we have borrowed 15-minute times. लोन लेके हमने किया, फेल हुआ. यहाँ पर हम फेल नहीं होंगे, पास होंगे. I'm sure you will vote in favor only. So 15 minutes we have borrowed from the organizers. The next question to Sajeve ji, bad bank. You are talking about the resolution. So bad bank is also a sort of resolution. So in India, how far bad bank has been successful? Sajeve ji, the question is on the screen. Can we have your quick view on that?
Yeah, now why a bad bank was necessary? It's an ARC. And our structure of the economy is that it is a socialist democratic state. So the state is involved in lives of everyone, in business and in personal lives in a certain matter. Now, the government has promoted a lot of enterprises like the stock exchanges, the commodity exchanges, the depositories, the insurance companies, mutual funds, etc. So why not have an ARC also? So this ARC provides competitiveness to the other ARCs which are in marketplace. It leads to more transparency, leads to better mechanism in terms of price discovery and dealing with transactions. Because we all know that there are only 4 large ARCs right now, and this is the 5th one. However, if you look at the question that I'm skipping some part of the matters that I had noted for myself, but I'll come to the last line. How do you see the development on this front emerging and linkages with IBC? Now, first thing which has been thought about for a long time, not been implemented, that can security receipts become tradable? And probably that's an endeavor in the right direction. If security receipts become tradable, they can be invested across the board, and there'll be greater transparency in terms of valuation discovery and transaction pricing. The next thing is that can we create a marketplace for illiquid assets? There are international marketplaces which are for illiquid assets. So probably a greater participation in the distress asset market will lead to more web-based or internet-based transaction mechanisms where transactions in illiquid market space can take place. Now, litigation financing is an area. If there's a government ARC or there's a large ARC like a bad bank, probably we might see litigation financing come in over a period of time, because in insolvency and liquidations, the litigation financing should not be a restriction. It's not a personal matter in which you are wanting to restrict it. Similarly, contingency financing. If the opposite party or the promoters of the company or the avoidance transaction parties know that who's on the other side, that is, you have so-and-so financing this transaction, or you have a government ARC, a bad bank, which is going to pursue it till the last, settlements will come in much faster. Junk bonds can get promoted over a period of time, which was the success of late 70s of US. And of course, there'll be cross purposes need to be introduced in avoidance transactions, wherein who will get the benefit of those transactions. If the unsecured creditors have lost out and there's money going to be retrieved in avoidance transaction, a large ARC, which is like a bad bank, may not keep the monies of avoidance transactions itself. It may actually distribute it to workmen, employees, or operational creditors. Mind you, in the UK, the avoidance transactions are now getting handed over to the public prosecutor. They are not being handled by the RPs or the liquidators or the financial creditors, because the gains of these transactions must go to the government, as government is at the last of the queue. That's all.
Thank you. दो ये दिल मांगे मोर, लेकिन टाइम भी कांस्टेंट है, आप लोग को चाय भी पिलाना है, तो हम यहीं पर कंक्लूड करेंगे दोस्तों। बहुत अच्छा लगा आप लोग के साथ में और चारों लोगों के साथ में बैठ के। ट्रिपल आईपी ऑफ आईसीआई ने एक मेंटरशिप प्रोग्राम चालू किया है, जहां पर कि एनी वन ऑफ देम आल्सो कैन लाइक टू बिकम द मेंटर। जो नए लोग आईपी प्रोफेशन में आते हैं, दे विल बी एलोकेटेड एंड इनका सहयोग मिल सकता है। और फिर भी नहीं हो तो आप इनको यहाँ पर घेर के अभी 5 मिनट के समय में इनका मोबाइल ईमेल आईडी ले लीजिएगा, तो कोई भी कभी तकलीफ होगी आप इनसे ईमेल जरूर करेंगे। एंड आई एम श्योर दे बीइंग चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट दे विल बी मोर देन हैप्पी टू सपोर्ट यू इन योर प्रोफेशनल endeavor. With this, I hand over the proceeding to the organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank our distinguished panelists for such an interesting session on navigating insolvency and restructuring. We hope you gained very valuable knowledge while we explored the skills required to excel in this challenging yet very rewarding domain. And with that, we would now be doing our felicitation ceremony. I invite on stage CA Vijaykumar V Iyer, our Central Council member of ICAI, to kindly felicitate our panelist, CA Avil Menezes. Can we have a great round of applause, please? I would now like to invite CA Rajendra Kumar P, our Central Council member of ICAI, to please come on stage and felicitate CA Vijaykumar V Iyer. Very well, sir. Can we once again have a great round of applause, please? I would now like to invite on stage CA Durgesh Kumar Kabra, our Central Council member of ICAI, to please come on stage and felicitate CA Ashish Chhawchharia, sir. A great round of applause, please. I now invite C. Hansraj Chugh, our Central Council member of ICAI, to please present a memento to our panelist, CA Sajeve Deora. A great round of applause, please. I now invite CA Preeti Savla, our Central Council member of ICAI, to felicitate our moderator for this session, CA Subodh Kumar Agrawal. A great round of applause, please. And with that, we conclude our session. I would once again like to extend my sincere gratitude to all the speakers, our panelists, our moderator, and our participants for making this day 2 of our convention a very successful one. Thank you so much.